watch a lot of basketball. At least, we try to. Impossible to watch it all, but we have day jobs. We both been traveling. But over the course of 2 months, we have formed opinions on a lot of things. This week exposed me a little bit. We're getting further into conference play. A number of teams have surprised me this week in a good way and not even always in victory. Welcome to the latest Gauer Hour. Rob Joyce, Megan Gauer. If you are watching on YouTube, Megan has her finest Mickey Mouse ears on that retail for $34.99 because she's in the most, the happiest place on earth?
Yeah, happiest place on earth.
However, you're taking the happiest place on earth and you're torturing yourself, is my understanding. Because you are running a half marathon?
Yeah, half marathon tomorrow morning. But they do really make it a little bit of torture here because you got to get up at like 2:30 in the morning because the race starts at 5 a.m. So yeah, and already running on fumes because we got in last night. So should be interesting.
Wait, do you already run a half marathon?
No, it's tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
We just got here late last night. Yeah.
So where, do you just run around the Magic Kingdom? What are we doing?
Yeah, it starts at Epcot and you run around to Epcot and then up to Magic Kingdom, through Magic Kingdom, and then back down to Epcot.
I mean, I'll run a 5K and you could maybe convince me to run a 10K. Anything beyond that, I'm not saying you need your head examined, but you're paying money to torture yourself.
Yeah, well, one of my friends that I'm here with is running the full, so that's an extra level of torture.
Never in a million years. Never in a million years. We got a lot of games. Where do you want to start with last night? Because there was a surprising one in the SEC. There's a good one in the SEC. A couple of decent games in the Big Ten. So yeah, we'll start wherever you'd like.
I feel like let's start with the two upsets in the SEC. The one maybe a little bit of a bigger upset, but I would still call Ole Miss over Oklahoma an upset too. So,
absolutely. But no one impressed me. I know they split. No one impressed me more in the last week than Ole Miss. Because last week I said basically they hadn't done anything to prove to me that they were worthy of a top 15 team. The fact that they didn't get blown out by Texas, because that easily could have gotten out of hand in the second half. Instead, they claw back in the fourth. If that game was 42 minutes, 41 minutes, they might have won the thing. Not how it works. Just dug themselves too big of a hole. And then last night, every single time Oklahoma had a big bucket or a little run and it looked like they might try to kind of wrest control, someone for Ole Miss answered. Very, very impressed by the Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, as impressive as you can be in a loss in the Texas game, I thought, because even that one at halftime, I think it was not all that close, and I was kind of like, oh, this is probably over, tune to the next game.
They scored 4 points in the second.
Yeah. But they absolutely made it a game going into that second half and down the stretch there. And I mean, no one's come within a South Carolina within 3 points of Texas this year. So to do that is an impressive. And then a really nice win, I thought, like you said, over Oklahoma last night. I think, obviously their defense bothered Oklahoma quite a bit. Oklahoma had an abysmal shooting night, and they were just really able to keep up with Oklahoma on the boards and get it done.
Yeah. 3-point shooting, I think, is something that's a little underrated with this Ole Miss team. They're not going to be great at it. Personnel has changed a lot from 2-3 years ago, but they didn't shoot threes at all a couple of years ago. And I think somewhere along the way they realized, all right, they don't need to become Tennessee or Oklahoma. They need to at least have the ability to do so. And just some dagger threes last night. Sarah Chinu was spectacular. Cody McMahon, she's been good in this stretch. Not All-American Player of the Year good, but good enough to all conference type good. And that's what I think this Ole Miss team has needed with some consistency, and she's starting to put it together consistently. Absolutely in the how's the hosting bubble, if you want to call it? Because I feel like if you look at the rankings, I mean, we still have 2 months to go. It's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, it feels very up in the air right now. I think there's going to be a good handful of SEC teams in that group, and it's probably just a matter of how it all shakes out. I think the SEC will get the most teams in that group, but like I said, very up in the air right now. But I think Ole Miss is certainly still a part of that conversation for sure.
Yeah, I mean, quad
unless they
one win,
move
top
them
10,
and
top 5
yeah,
win on
exactly
the
into
road.
a very nice position there.
Do you take a whole lot from the Oklahoma side of things? You're going to lose some games in SEC play.
Yeah.
I mean, South Carolina has already lost a game technically to an SEC team. Texas has
Mhm.
probably got somewhere. I don't see them running the table. I don't take a
Right.
whole lot other than Leah Chavez is still really good.
Yeah, agreed. I don't take much out of this for Oklahoma. I mean, just a bad shooting night. Peyton Brahos isn't going to go whatever she was from
1 of
three
14,
on
yes.
yeah 1 of 14 on very many occasions. Like yes, almost bothered her, but that's uncharacteristic for her. And like you said, this SEC. If someone came out of this SEC slate undefeated, like they are unquestionably the best team in the country. Like there's just no way that's happening.
I'll agree with that. The other surprising game from last night, not so much, well, I guess part of it is the fact that Alabama beat Kentucky. The manner in which they beat Kentucky was awfully surprising in Tuscaloosa. 64-51. That was a 20-point game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. This was like a shocking result. I feel like Kentucky, who just looked really good against LSU when we talked about them last week, and then kind of the opposite result here. And yeah, just a surprising upset. And I don't know, but I thought Alabama had this in them. I thought they could beat Kentucky for sure, but I didn't think they could beat them in the fashion that they did.
Yes. No Tioni Key for Kentucky after that scary elbow injury. I'm trying to get the official wording. It's not season ending. Kenny Brooks said could be a couple weeks, could be a little longer. So she's out for the next little while. I don't think that was, she's not like a 15-point difference maker. I don't think, or at one point it was a 20-point difference maker. But Clara Strack, I guess they hounded her. She was 1 for 13. Talking about Peyton Verhulst, 1 of 14. She's at least a distance shooter. Clara Strack's
Right.
inside. 1 of 13, had 13 rebounds, but yeah, you're not going to win many games when you're 6'5", big, who's your best player, misses 12 of 13 shots. I'm so impressed by what Christy Curry's done in Tuscaloosa. Lost 2 WNBA picks last year for a program that hasn't had any, very few historically. Jessica Timmons has taken the type of improvement you'd want as a senior. 15 points a game. She shot 31% from 3 last year. She's over 40 this year. Diana Collins was very, very good last night. She's basically doubled her point total from last year. Essence Cody has been pretty good the first 2 years as one of the higher rated recruits in program history. She really wasn't an offensive factor last night, and they won handily. Alabama's schedule beforehand wasn't the greatest, so their record I thought was a little inflated. But yeah, another team, consider me just gobsmacked at how good they are. Because in the preseason, I didn't think they'd be this good.
Yeah, I think we all kind of thought it would be a rebuilding year for this team, and they're looking like they're going to compete in that middle group of the SEC for sure. And when I say middle group of the SEC, that we're talking about top 20 teams. Like,
yes. Let me pull up the SEC standings real quick. I mean, it's early on, but just to kind of get what you're going at. If you were to, let's see, the 3-0 teams in the SEC, 3 are in the top 10, and there's Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Oklahoma, LSU. So that is 8 ranked teams in Alabama. So technically speaking, if the SEC tournament were to have started today, this second, the 12th team in the country, LSU, would have to play in the first round as the 9 seed. And I mean, at this point, it's going to stay that way.
Yeah, it's just the SEC is not good. It's insane.
Yeah. I'm not so much alarmed that Kentucky lost just in general if they'd have lost 64-63, but alarming in the way they lost. Like your best play, we said this last week, your best players need to play well. If Strack and Tony Morgan are going to shoot 5 of 26, now is that an aberration? Probably. Just something to monitor.
Otherwise, yeah, agreed. There's really, like, in SEC play this year, there's really no nights off. So, like, if that happens, like, you're going to lose, I think, in this conference.
We're in the SEC. Right. We're in the SEC. We'll stick there. What happened? What happened last night? There's LSU beat Georgia. Georgia, they are, I think. My hot take is Georgia is 15-2. They don't get to 20 wins, at least in the regular season. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I think they are just like they have an inflated record right now from the non-conference schedule that they played, but I don't think this is a team that's going to be able to do all that much in SEC play. And yeah, I don't think we're talking about a tournament team when we talk about Georgia.
No, the only reason I bring it up is because like I saw last week you had them last 4 in based on their resume.
Yeah.
At that point, it was probably true. I think they're going to very
be
quickly
out. Yeah.
fall out. And then Tennessee, that's what I was looking for. Amazing. When you shoot like 35, 37% from three, how much easier it is to score than when you shoot 23%. Nice win for the Lady Vols. Looked like the Tennessee team that we've kind of been waiting for. One game, but still a good sign.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if they could just shoot at that clip more consistently, they'll be in a lot better shape. It's when you're putting up the number of threes that they're putting up and then shooting 25% from deep. Like, it's going to be really hard to win like that. But if you start knocking those down, you're going to be in a lot better shape. And exactly, I thought a nice win over Mississippi State last night. And they looked a little bit more like what you expect Tennessee to look like after last year.
Yeah. All right, let's go Big Ten. There's really only one game from last night that, well, I guess 2 games that were notable. Nebraska held off Indiana, so the Hoosiers, yeah, they're 0-5 in Big Ten play. Michigan State, they were down big early to Washington, had a big second, had a big third, won by 15. Is it time to start taking the Spartans seriously, not only as a team that's worthy of hosting, like we're talking like top 10 good, because the metrics say so.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not fully there yet. I think I need to see what they do against it's one of the more like higher ranked teams in the Big Ten. Like, what do they look like against Michigan? I mean, I don't expect them to go beat UCLA, but like, can you keep it competitive with UCLA? Because I feel like Washington has been a little bit up and down. Like, I had them after last week, and like I still think they're a good team. Like I think this is a really good win, but I want to see what if we're gonna call them top 10 good, then I need to see what they're gonna do against other teams that are at that caliber, and I just don't think we've seen that yet.
To this point, their best win, they beat Ole Miss on a neutral floor by 17. That looks better by the day. They beat Illinois with a nice second half, won by 15 at Washington. They play Oregon on Sunday. Then Nebraska, Iowa, USC, Purdue, Michigan, Maryland. So 2, 4, 6 of their next 7 games are teams that are NCAA tournament quality, if not top 25 quality. And then after that, they still get UCLA and Michigan again. So they're going to get plenty of chances. They're 9th in the net as of this morning. Her hoop stats, they were 10th last week. I imagine that probably hasn't changed. Loading. Maybe. Possibly. It's not loading. They were 10th last week. I'm going to assume, since they haven't lost and they had a 15-point win against a very good team, that's probably gone up, if anything. Yeah, I'm probably with you. 9th. I'm not quite there. I'm not too far away from fully believing.
Yeah. No, agreed. I think this team has got something going for it for sure. And I'm really interested. I mean, even before you get to like the UCLAs and the Michigan games, like that stretch you just laid out, right? You've got to play Nebraska, you've got to play Iowa. Like there's a lot of tough teams in there. Like if you can come out of that stretch and win most of those games, like I think that says something about the quality of this team, just with the depth of the Big Ten and who you have to play in that stretch.
Yeah, ACC, couple of games last night outside the top 25. We'll start with the team in the top 25. Louisville, nice road win. They were down early second half, not by a lot, but big third quarter. We know Louisville right now is the class of the ACC. They've done nothing to show otherwise. They're now 5-0 in conference play. What do you make of Miami? Because last week you had them, I think, as one of the first or the last 4 in. Yes.
Yeah.
And looking at some of these other teams that are kind of in that area, like we mentioned, Georgia's going to fall off. Utah's probably made themselves a lot safer with a nice win last weekend. Syracuse just took a bad loss. We'll see if they can keep up what was a nice start, but against a weak schedule. I feel like Miami is a team that's kind of just hanging around, that we don't really talk about a whole.
I feel like they're definitely hanging around that like bubble territory. I'd throw Clemson in there with them too. I like Clemson last time after the bracket was really skeptical of because I didn't think they had a single Q1, Q2, or Q3 win, but they just had a couple of nice wins over the last 2 weeks. So a team that's kind of definitely made their way into that conversation now. But yeah, I think there's a handful of ACC teams hanging around that bubble. When we talk about
Yes.
like SEC and like Big Ten, we're talking more about like hosting bubble and like the middle of the bracket. But when we're talking about the ACC, we're talking about a lot of bubble teams.
Yes, Clemson, an important win at Miami last weekend, and then the metrics don't care that Zam Jones didn't play. Big fourth quarter, down 5-3, outscore NC State 23-8 in the fourth last night. They win 75-65. Very important win for the Tigers. Two important wins for the Tigers this week. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
No depth for NC State, none whatsoever. They cannot afford clearly an injury to anyone. Zam Jones, Zoe Brooks, Tilda Trieger, Camille Pierre, all four of them clearly have to play.
Yeah, this team, like you said, just really beyond that, they don't have a lot, so they need that group on the floor and quickly see in this loss to Clemson what happens when they don't have them all.
The trio of Trieger, Pierre, and Brooks last night combined for 36 and 15, 51 of their 65 points. Generally speaking, your big three combined for 50 plus, you're gonna win.
That's not great. Yeah.
Not when everyone else combines for 14.
40.
Like Caden Samuel starts every game. She averages 6 points a game in 25 minutes, and she had 4 last night on 2 of 10 shooting. She's not a scoring threat. Devin quickly moved into the lineup. She had 4 points. Destiny Lunan, 6 points, 19 minutes. Like that's just, it's not enough, especially if your defense is going to give up, 50% shooting. Yeah, we talked last week. NC State looked like they were on the rise. You can see how delicate it is. There's a couple teams like this. Notre Dame, NC State, I'll put in there too. One injury to one of these key 4 players, Zam Jones rolls her ankle. Suddenly they're a lot more vulnerable.
Yeah, the margin for error for this team is just really thin if they don't have, especially if they don't have that core group on the floor, because it's just like you said, their depth is not there and they rely so heavily on the group, and you take one out and all of a sudden there's a kind of gaping hole in what they can do.
Now, I don't want to overreact here. I'm not going to, because they've burned me. Duke looks pretty good.
They do.
They got out rebounded by $1 billion at Cal.
Mm-hmm.
Those West Coast trips, like you just find a way. And they found a way last night. They won by 4. They were down big after the third quarter. They were down 10.
Yeah.
24-10 in the fourth. They win by 4. And all of a sudden, Duke, they're 5-0 in the ACC. Delaney Thomas had a 20-point night. She looked good against Notre Dame on Sunday, too. Even with a down night from Toby Fournier. Blue Devils they're working their way back.
Yeah, it feels like this team has really turned a corner since what we saw in some of those early season games, and I feel like you can see the benefit of those losses. Like they've played a really tough schedule, right? Like we've talked about it, like a lot of losses, but like outside of maybe the South Florida one, like none of them look bad on paper. And I think you're seeing a team that's learned a lot from those losses now and is really putting it together as they get into conference play and when it matters. Ultimately, what happened in November isn't a big deal if you can figure it out in January, February, March.
No, and I mean, you're looking at this schedule. They have a good game. We'll preview the Stanford game a little bit on Sunday. After that, they have some tests at Miami at the end of the month, but you're looking at that February 5th game at Louisville. I don't think they lose before then. And now you're all of a sudden talking, they probably have too many losses to put themselves in the hosting conversation, probably. But I mean, I imagine, where are they in the net? Yeah, they're okay. They're still far enough in the net. So yeah, they're probably not going to host. But man, that could be a scary 5 seed. That's just rolling. They just had such a disastrous November.
Yeah, 5 seed that you don't want no one's gonna want to see in their region. I feel like they probably, you're right, have too many losses to host, but if they went out and won the ACC, maybe they get in there. I wouldn't be shocked. The committee tends to show a bias towards more recent results, so I wouldn't be surprised if they win the ACC, if they sneak in there.
Interesting. The only other game that caught my eye last night, put on Baylor, Colorado. I don't know what to make of Baylor. They pulled out the win. Yuting Dunn is a weapon off the bench, the 3-point threat, and good win over the weekend. Credit to Dariana Littlepage-Buggs. I've been critical. She had 20 rebounds. She carried the load in the first half of that win last weekend. Baylor, I still don't know quite. I feel like they could lose on any given night. But if they put it together, they prove that, they can get an Iowa State. Let's talk about Iowa State.
Yeah, I was like, how much does that really mean right now? I don't know.
The most inexcusable loss, the worst loss
Yeah.
any team is probably going to take all year. That's how bad it was. I don't care if Addie Brown was not there. You cannot lose to Cincinnati.
No.
You can't.
No.
Like
Yeah.
they shouldn't host.
It's a horrible loss. Like, there's just no reason for that. What, Cincinnati was 5-10 coming into that game, I think. Like, something not good. And not 5-10 against a tough schedule. Like 5-10 against we have.
Oh, I have their schedule up. Okay, so they were 5-10 going in. Don't mean to pick on you, Cincinnati. It is what it is. Season opener, lost to Lehigh, a team that is 135th in her hoop stats. Lost by 5 to Penn State, team that's not top 100. St. Joe's, fine team. Ball State, better team than you'd think. Miami, Ohio, in overtime, not a top 100 team. Lost to Xavier at home. Xavier is the dregs of the Big East. Yikes, 209. Yeah. That's the worst team they have played and lost to. Howard, good MEAC team. Lost. Got blown out by Oklahoma State by 28 points. Blown out at Kansas State. Lost by 27 points. Hung around a little bit with Colorado. Ultimately lost by double digits. Cannot lose that game. That is a quad 4 loss. It's going to stay a quad 4 loss.
Yeah.
Went to Warren Nolan has historical stats, so I'm citing him here. Last year, 2 teams in the top 30 of the net had a singular quad 4 loss. Tennessee, that brutal loss to Georgia, they went from the hosting conversation to a 6 seed. Oklahoma State had a quad 4 loss. They were in what? I think the 7-10 game.
Yeah.
2 years ago, one top 30 team had a quad 4 loss. Oklahoma was a 5 seed. 2022 and 2023, no one in the top 60 of the net had a quad 4 loss. They will not host unless they run the table the rest of the way. They are not going to host. And frankly, they don't deserve to. Because since they've beaten Iowa, like, okay, they eke by Kansas. Kansas is a decent team. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Then they lose to Baylor. All right. Baylor, good team, okay loss. Now we're on a trend. They don't look good.
Yeah. No. I think the loss to Baylor in isolation. Yeah. The loss to Baylor in isolation is not a bad loss, but then when you follow it up with a loss to Cincinnati, it's, yeah, exactly what you said. It's a trend. It is not a good trend for Iowa State.
The defense isn't good again.
No.
Like, it was okay against Iowa for a half, and I said that's all it needs to be, is good for like a half. Well, they gave up 75 plus against Kansas. They gave up 62 to Houston, fine, whatever. They gave up 70 to Baylor. They gave up 71 to Cincinnati. You're not going to beat teams consistently when you're giving up 70 plus without really trying.
You can't give
some of the clips that went around to the defense too was just embarrassing. This is the Iowa State I thought would appear in the preseason, and then they fooled me, and now they're back with a bench. Another game from Wednesday. We'll stay in the Big 12. I think Texas Tech should absolutely be in the hosting conversation. They continue to just win games, and they're starting to beat teams that, are raising their eyebrows. Nice win at West Virginia, a place where West Virginia does not lose often.
Yeah, no, a really nice win for Texas Tech. I think you go into conference play with this team, and you're like, how real are they? Because the schedule that they played prior to conference play, it's hard to tell, but they just keep passing test after test in the Big 12. And obviously there's bigger tests to come, but West Virginia is a really, really nice win for this team.
The Big 3 showed up. And that's my theme of the last 2 weeks. Your best players make big plays, you're in good shape. Especially, so they were down 3 in the fourth quarter on the road at West Virginia late. Snutta Collins and one. She missed the free throw. Jalen Bristow had a tough night. She battled foul trouble. She comes in. She wins an offensive rebound around 4 Mountaineers. She finds Bailey Maupin for a go-ahead 3. Your big 3 in the span of 3 seconds of game time made a winning play. The one, the offensive rebound to the kick out for the go-ahead 3. Your big 3 make big-time plays at a place where West Virginia doesn't lose, or in general, if your 3 best players show up in the fourth quarter of games, in tough games, you're going to win a lot of those games. And Texas Tech right now continues to win, and they're going to continue to win. Let's see. Cincinnati. Hey, apparently that's losable. Houston, K-State, and then they make the mountain trip before they host Iowa State and TCU. They could very easily be, at the very least, 18, 19, 21-1 when they host Iowa State on January 28th. And that's probably your biggest game in program history, at least modern program history.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm in on Texas Tech.
Yeah, I am too, and like I don't think they can't beat like Iowa State. They could beat Iowa State.
Oh, yeah, and it's at home.
I mean,
TCU's
clearly
at home.
anyone could beat Iowa State, but sorry,
Yes,
I had to.
this is a throwback to last year where we were done with Iowa State by December 1st.
Yeah.
All right, outside the Big 12 on Wednesday, Ohio State, another team I was down on in the preseason, and I was wrong about. I thought they might miss the tournament. Jelani Cambridge is really good. We knew that. 41 points. Nice second half against a tough Illinois team that we praised last week, and I still think Illinois is very good. But Ohio State is eons better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, I was so impressed with Jelani Cambridge in this game. I mean, quite frankly, if anyone scores 40 points, I'm going to be very impressed, but
Sure.
she's just fantastic in this game.
And I think the elevation for Ohio State is in the front court. Kylie Kitts and Elsa Lamila have elevated their ceiling over what the Buckeyes were last year. They're still not some kind of rebounding juggernaut, but last year they were 209th in rebounding. This year they're 81st. In rebounding rate last year, they were 255 out of 360 something. This year they're 145th. So they're not some great Texas, South Carolina rebounding team. They don't necessarily need to be with the way they play. They just need to not get out rebounded by 20 in some of these games. And the freshman Kitts and the sophomore Lamila have done that. They've held their own enough where the rest of the talent around Ohio State, like your Jelani Cambridges, can take over a game. And it counts. And they take a tie game at halftime and they win on the road at a good Illinois team by 9. Yeah, this Ohio State team, they're 14-2. What are their losses? They got blown out at UConn. Fine. They had UCLA very much on the ropes.
Right.
And they head to Maryland on Sunday, probably feeling themselves.
Yeah, I think this is a team to keep an eye on when we're talking about teams that might be in a position to kind of pull away from this like huge group of Big Ten teams that is just like a jumble. It's like who's the best? I don't know. Well, these teams, this is a team that I'm keeping my eye on. I'm like, can they create a little bit of separation from that group?
Yes. And then one other game from Wednesday that I initially wrote down. We're not going to talk about Davidson 48, St. Joe's 36, but nice job by the Wildcats. They're 53rd in the net. They're just kind of hanging around. They're 12-5. Don't have a quad 1 win. They have a big game this weekend. Problem with Davidson, 12-5, and all 10 of those wins are quad 4 and a couple quad 3. So they're a good team. They're hanging around. They just need to. Their margin for error is slim, and the A10 is good enough where it's not like Fairfield, who's all right. They're probably going to win every game in the MAC. It'd be a stunner if they didn't. There's Richmond. There's Rhode Island. There's St. Joe's. There's George Mason. There's enough of these good teams that, from a resume standpoint, would hurt you.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate reality of like being in a position like the A10 because the conference is good, but I don't think it necessarily gets picked up the same way as like a loss to someone in the Big Ten, even if they might be similar quality opponents at points when you get to lower in the Big Ten. I think like a loss to like a Wisconsin, for example, looks very different on a resume than a loss to pick your like St. Joe's or something like that.
Yeah, like Syracuse lost to Virginia Tech by 20. Virginia Tech is lower in the net than Richmond and Rhode Island. But if Syracuse loses to Rhode Island by 20, people are going to go, oh, what the heck was that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The only other game we don't have to talk about last weekend at all is far enough away. Tuesday, though, how about Oregon? Wanted to see the Ducks prove it. Boy, did they prove it with a big second half run to stun the Trojans in LA. Needed kind of a marquee win just to put a stamp on that resume, and they're top 25 in the net. They just hadn't beaten anyone really of note. Now they've beaten someone of note. Very, very impressive stuff from the Ducks. I know USC didn't have Kennedy Smith. I don't care. Yeah,
still a really nice win for Oregon. Like we said, they needed like a statement one there, and then they got it. So I'm interested to keep an eye on this team too.
USC. Do I have to talk about? Yes, we'll talk about USC in a bit. We're going to talk about a lot of teams in a bit because there's a lot of games to preview. Not so much tomorrow. Tomorrow, your best game is probably Richmond-Davidson. We just talked about Davidson. tell me if I'm wrong. Not a must-win for Richmond in terms of an at-large hope, but I think if they lost, they'd be on life support. And basically, they'd have to win at Davidson and probably at home against Rhode Island later in the year and win out the rest of the way and then lose in like the semis or the championship game to have a shot. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think Richmond is in a place where it definitely kind of needs a win, or they're putting themselves in a really tough position for an at-large. I think they'll get a little bit of a benefit of the doubt from like being a clear like at-large candidate last year and things like that. I just think like the name recognition tends to help you a little bit. So I think the reason we saw like 3 Ivies get in last year to an extent, like not that they didn't have the resumes, but like I think when you're these mid-major programs, like just having that helps a little bit because people have you on the radar and it's not a shock. But yeah, they need to win here, I think.
And then neither team's probably an at-large candidate. Harvard and Columbia 75th and 76th in the net, respectively. At least they were earlier in the week. Losers out, though, right? And unless, from an at-large standpoint, losers definitely out.
Yeah. I think Columbia was hanging around for a little bit, but I think they've fallen off in the last couple of weeks. Okay. Maybe a win here helps a little bit, but I think they're both probably 70s in the net. You've got to climb from there to be in the conversation.
Then your best high major game is Utah at K-State. Utes avoided the letdown on Kansas. Kansas won by 3 on Wednesday. I'm intrigued by this Utes team. Last week, I chickened out. I gave the recipe for how they could beat TCU and didn't actually pull the trigger and say they could win. They made 13 threes, we said, and hey, they handed TCU its first loss of the year. This is Utah, I feel like last year was kind of like this, where they lost Lynn Roberts, so everyone kind of counted them out. And yes, they're not as good as they were, 2 years ago, 3 years ago with Alyssa Peely and Neepkins and company. This is still a quality tournament-worthy team consistently. And I think people kind of forgot that.
Yeah, agreed. I think kind of wrote them off after like Neepkins is at UCLA now. Like you lose your big star, but they're quietly hanging around there. Like you said, big win over TCU. So then I feel like the Big 12 is a little bit outside of like, I don't know. I still think TCU is probably the top team. It's a little bit for the taking right now.
What on earth is happening behind you?
Someone walked by with a janitor cart. I'm in like not the best spot probably to record.
You gotta make do with what you got. Fine. I guess you said you're off property. I was gonna say Disney. They have everything. Just get Mickey Mouse, get you something. Sunday loaded. Kentucky, Oklahoma, LSU, Texas, Maryland, Ohio State, even like Nebraska, UCLA, Oregon, Michigan State. We'll start SEC.
So much.
Kentucky, Oklahoma, we've already talked about both these teams. I feel a lot less good about the Wildcats. Tierney Key has been good, but now it seems that like Oklahoma can probably make Clara Strack's life a nightmare, especially given what they have down low with Beers and company.
Yeah, I feel like the game plan for Oklahoma here is like try to replicate what Alabama did to Clara Strack yesterday, because if they can make her life hard, it's going to be really hard for Kentucky to win this game. And then on the flip side, like Reagan Beers has a good night. I don't think Payne Fairhills is going to go 1 for 14 or whatever we said it was again. So rebound from that, and I think they're in really good shape to win this game.
I agree, and I'm not sure Kentucky can hang offensively. They just showed it last week at LSU. I don't know if Oklahoma has it on. I'm not sure that Kentucky can quite keep up if Oklahoma can score the way it's capable of. And then Reagan Beers is just so consistent. She had 20 rebounds last night. I'm not even talking about scoring, just getting the ball. Like Clara Strack, I think, has to out-rebound Reagan Beers, and I'm not sure right now with the way Beers is playing consistently that's possible. She's just every single night. It's double-double after double-double after double-double after double-double. Let me see. I just had it pulled up a second ago. Oklahoma roster. Beers has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight double-doubles. 9 of her last, 10, 11, 12 of her last 13 games. She had 13 and 7 because she only played 19 minutes against Maryland Eastern Shore.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure if she'd have played, 5 more minutes, she'd have gotten 7 more rebounds.
Right.
Yeah. So just
it's insane.
She's the best post player on the floor, and that's not great for Kentucky, but Kentucky certainly proved me wrong before. It's in Lexington. All right, let's talk LSU. Got off the schneid after the sky is falling 0-2 start to SEC play. Can they? It's at home. Can they hang with Texas?
We'll see. I don't think I think the panic from this team being 0-2 is too much, but they lost two good teams, right? Kentucky is a good team. Vanderbilt is a very good team, but at the same time, I don't know that I've seen anything that makes me think they're near that top group of the SEC and can hang with South Carolina and Texas.
I get it. The schedule sucked. Kim Mulkey's polarizing, so if you're not a fan, you're very quick to bury the Tigers. I get it. Let's not totally overreact. They were 0-2, now they're 1-2. They beat Georgia. They lost to two of the top 7 teams in the country right now. Tony Morgan, who is a sub 30% three-point shooter, if she doesn't hit an off-balance game winner, even 1-1, this is a different conversation. I saw things last week LSU doesn't even deserve to be ranked. Slow down. They're one of the 25 best teams in the country. Just settle down. In terms of beating Texas, they've had dogfights with them, but yeah, the Angel Reese is gone. Last year, Anissa Morrow is gone. This is an Amaya Joyner game, Kate Koval game. If they let Texas push them around inside, it spells trouble. Otherwise, I think they can hang offensively. They just need to probably have the best player on the floor. Or if they don't have the best, they need to have the second and third best. If it's Booker and Harmon, good night. But if it's Michaela Williams as the best player, or Booker goes off, but then so does Williams and Fulwiley or whatever, I think this is going to be a ball game. And it's in Baton Rouge. I think LSU has a point to prove. Texas looked a little more vulnerable. They're winning, but I think they look more vulnerable than they did a month ago. South Carolina's on deck for the Longhorns. Yeah, this I think lines up nicely for LSU at a good time for a team that I think has something to prove, and I think Kim Mulkey will express as such.
Yeah, they definitely have, I think, something to prove, especially the way they've been talked about, as you said, in the last couple of weeks, which I think is a little unfair. But yeah, they have the firepower, like you said, offensively. Outside of that Vanderbilt game, they're still scoring at a really, really high clip. It feels like, I don't know, Florida didn't have a great game at Vanderbilt. I'm sure she's looking to respond from that too on a big stage. So they can do it offensively. It's just, can you slow down a Madison Booker or Roy Harmon enough to have a win? I don't think they also need to win this. If they keep it close, I will feel a lot better about LSU.
Yeah, it's the Ole Miss argument from last week. Don't necessarily need to win, or Stanford 2 weeks ago. Just don't get blown out.
Yeah.
And they'll be fine. Big Ten, Maryland, Ohio State. Words I didn't think I'd say a month ago. I've been impressed by Maryland. I'll take Ohio State. Terps have a propensity to turn it over. Not egregious, but 16 a game. They had 20 against Wisconsin. They had 18 recently against Illinois. Buckeyes playing with some swagger and ability right now. They look dangerous. I will take the Buckeyes on the road in College Park. What say you about this game?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think Ohio State, like you said, just looks really good right now. And I'm still impressed with Maryland for everything that they've lost. Where they're hanging around is really, really impressive. But this just feels I feel like there's certain teams in the Big Ten that are just going to purely have a talent advantage because of the amount of pieces that Maryland has lost. And this kind of feels like one of those games. So there's not a lot of them. I think there's a lot of places where Maryland can still hang, but this one I just think is probably Ohio State's. But at the same time, I've continued to be a little surprised, I think, in a good way, by Maryland, and just you would expect after you lose so many pieces to injury that things would start to unravel, and that really hasn't happened. But they had a loss to Illinois that's by no means a bad loss at all. So they're still very much a part of that middle group of the Big Ten that I can't seem to figure out who's the best of.
Aluchi Okano has been spectacular for Maryland. She was good to start the year, but since December started, she has found another level. She scored at least 17 in all but one game, over 3 steals a game in that span, over 50% shooting well over 50% shooting. Her worst game, the one they lost, she had 12 points, 1 steal against Illinois. If you'd have told me Okanawa and Garzone combined to average 30, I probably would have flipped it, where Garzone's the one averaging 17 and Okanawa 13. Yeah. It's flipped. That's fine. I think Garzone's your ideal 1B player. If she's your number 1 option, I think I'm skeptical of your ceiling, but she's better than a number 2. I don't know if that makes sense. She's like your ideal 1B player, where O'Connell was there. That's great. Garzone takes Maryland to another level, even with all the injuries. I'm with you. I didn't think they'd be this good with what they've lost. Totally with you.
No, that
Nebraska.
duo gets.
Oh, go ahead.
I said the duo gives them a lot of a higher, I think, ceiling than they would have otherwise. Because just like when you have two players that are capable of looking like the best player on the floor in some of these games, that's a huge advantage. A lot of teams have one player. There's not a lot of teams that have two players that will look like the best player, could look like the best player on the floor.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so one of them can afford to be okay on a given night, as long as the other one is good. Nebraska, UCLA, I think this is closer than many will assume. I know Nebraska has very gaudy numbers offensively. I think they're a little inflated by the schedule. They got tested by Indiana yesterday, but they're technically the best 2-point shooting team in the country. They're top 25 in 3-point percentage. They're top 15 in free throw percentage. They get more points per shot attempt than anyone in the country. Their raw rebounding numbers aren't great. The rebound rate, so basically the percentage of rebounds they get, is much better. They're top 30 in taking care of the ball. I can counter all of this with, well, they're playing UCLA. Lauren Betts is inside. You're not going to shoot 60% from 2 with Lauren Betts in the paint. I can counter your 3-point shooting with Gianna Neepkins. I'm just saying, it's a top 25 matchup. People probably expect UCLA to win by 30. They very well might. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't. I can't call the blowout, though. Or I can't call the upset, though.
Yeah, I think, like you said, UCLA just has, like, everything, right? Like, everything you can throw at them, they can respond to with the same thing. Like, with the depth that they have, they have everything that you can throw at them, they can throw it back. But like you said, like, Nebraska, yes, I think the numbers are inflated from the schedule that they've played, but, like, they're a good team. The same way that, like, Ohio State was able to keep UCLA on the ropes. I don't know that Nebraska will fully have them on the ropes, but it also doesn't mean that this is going to be a blowout. It's one I would, like, keep an eye on. It's probably not, like, my main event watching on Sunday, but, like, you're monitoring the score because it could get close.
I'm also monitoring Minnesota and USC. So Minnesota, last year they had a gaudy record. They didn't beat anyone. And they didn't really beat anyone of note in the Big Ten, so therefore they missed the tournament despite having a pretty gaudy record. This year, they're 11-4, 4 very respectable losses at Kansas, neutral to Alabama. They had that just devastating 2 overtime collapse against Maryland, and then they lost by 10 to Michigan. None of those are eye-popping in terms of being bad. Again, they haven't really beaten anyone. Indiana's probably their best win, but I think they're very much in the conversation more than they were at any point last year. Am I wrong, Miss Bracketologist?
You are not. No, I think they're very much in the conversation. Like, they need to get some of these wins, though, right? Like, how you keep yourself in the conversation is you've got to pick up some wins in Big Ten play that are quality wins. And they've got a lot of opportunities to do that, but this is a good one here. I think the USC team that's struggling a little bit right now. And I mean, Minnesota has more Braun. Like, they've got a star out there. Like, this is a good opportunity to pick up a win that's going to help your case in March.
Yeah, credit to Mara Braun. She'd battled foot injuries the last 2 years, and she's been very good since returning after basically playing very limited minutes in 2 years. And then Grace Graholski is their leading scorer, 5'10 junior. She shoots over 50% from the floor. USC. I don't mean to be harsh on Jazzy Davidson. She's very clearly not Juju, and I think she needs to not be in the 97th percentile nationally in usage rate because she isn't good enough offensively to justify it.
Yeah,
and that's holding USC back a little bit.
I agree. I think, like, she's trying to carry a lot of a load, which I get, right? Like, someone has to carry a big load with Juju being out, but there's enough talent on this team that she doesn't need to carry as big of a load as she is, and she can split that load more with Kennedy Smith when she's back, with London Jones. Like, there's enough players on this team that can score the basketball, and I think if she just doesn't take as many shots and, like, they distribute the scoring a little more, USC actually might be a better team.
She does a lot of other things very well. She's very good defensively.
Yes.
She rebounds the basketball. She shoots below 40%. She shoots below 30% from three. In games against ranked teams, she shoots 35%. And they played a lot of ranked teams. So this is not a small sample size now. She was like 4 of 20 or something like that, maybe 6 of 20 against Oregon on Tuesday. She's a freshman. I think we're just accustomed to Paige Becker's won National Player of the Year. Caitlin Clark led the country in scoring. Juju came in and scored 30 whatever in a top 10 win in her first ever collegiate game. Like, that's not the norm, contrary to what we think. So Jazzy comes in as the number 1, number 2 recruit, depending on your ranking or your recruiting service of choice. And I think people just kind of expected that she'd be Juju, and she isn't, and that's fine. I just think USC right now is going backwards after a nice, pleasant start to the year. In terms of some of the results they got, they're not a top 25 team right now. I don't expect them to be ranked on Monday. They're very much throw them in the mix with all these other borderline fringe top 25 receiving votes Big Ten teams. They're far, far closer to that. Frankly, I think they're closer to 9th place in the Big Ten than they are second talent-wise.
I agree. I think they're just trying to. It's a young team. It's a team that hasn't played together a lot before this year, and they're just trying to figure things out. And everything they do this year is going to make them better next year, right? You're going to get Juju back, and then you're going to have this core of guards. It's probably the best core of guards in the country next year.
Go get it big.
I agree. Yeah, go get it big in the portal, which shouldn't be too hard. There's going to be a million players that want to play with Juju and try to win a national championship next year. And yeah, go get it big, and you're gonna be really good next year. But I agree, this year they're more towards that 9th place in the Big Ten than they are 2nd place.
That portal person better be 6'2" or taller. Go get it big. Yes. Big 12 Sunday, Iowa State, West Virginia. Cyclones need a get right game. I don't think this is it. West Virginia is not fun to play against. I'm not saying Iowa State won't win. I don't know if West Virginia can score quite enough, but don't not play defense and start turning the ball over against West Virginia. You're not going to have a fun time. Baylor, Kansas, credit where it's due. Lady Bears have looked good. Talia Scott figured it out Sunday. They beat Iowa State. Little Paige Buggs, I mentioned her 20 rebounds, held the team afloat in the first half. And then TCU, Arizona State Sunday. Said last week, TCU, if they went 5-1 on the 6-game stretch that started last week, that'd be good, but they would question whichever game they lost. Well, they lost.
Yeah.
What do you make of TCU now that we've seen them lose a game this year?
I mean, I think, like you said, Utah had the recipe, like making the threes and executed on it, and they lost a game. Like, these conferences, like, I don't really expect any of these teams to come out undefeated, right? Other than like UConn and the Big East. There's enough talent in these conferences, and it's enough of a like slog of going on the road and things like that. You're bound to drop one. So I don't take a ton from TCU losing at Utah unless it becomes a pattern. Is kind of how I look at that loss. Like, mountain trips are hard. Okay, it's a loss. But if you pick up and win the next 4, I don't really think I think anything of it.
Yeah, I don't think ASU has the recipe for an upset this week.
Yeah.
Can they make 13 threes? Well, they're 346th nationally in 3-point makes. So probably not. They've only made 7 in a game, more than 7 in a game once all year. So they do get to the line a lot. They force a lot of turnovers against a team that doesn't commit a ton. They still have work to do to make a firm at-large case. Utah's a nice win for ASU, especially on the road. To this point, it's their only win over a tournament team. Sunday's by no means a must-win. But Arizona State, they're 16-1. It's a little inflated at 16-1.
Yeah.
They're probably a tournament team if the tournament started today. They still have work to do. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. They have work to do. It's like the 16-1 where like you could miss the tournament, which is weird to say on January 9th, but like you've got to rack up some of these quality wins in conference play, and it doesn't have to be TCU. They do not need to go beat TCU to win or to make it to the tournament. They just like you've got to rack up some more games like the Utah one.
Yeah, I mean they follow TCU with Kansas, at West Virginia, at Cincinnati, Arizona, K-State, Oklahoma State. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Go 4-2 in that stretch,
right?
Heading into Baylor, and they're probably fine.
Yeah.
If you get over 20, 21 wins in February, like that's gaudy enough where you're probably fine.
Exactly.
ACC, I think this is an important week for teams in the ACC. One, with a couple of tournament teams and then one for some bubble teams. We'll start with Notre Dame UNC. I think this is an important game for both of these teams. Because I'll say it, I don't think Notre Dame's very good. And they have UNC, Louisville, and UConn in their next 3 games. This could get off the rails if they let it. If they start with a loss to North Carolina, going into Louisville, going into UConn, that's not going to go well.
Yeah, I think they're in a position here where they've got a really tough stretch coming, and they don't look great right now. Like the loss to Duke, they did not look good, and it's loss to Duke's not a bad loss, but they didn't look good. And like you said, they've got a tough stretch coming here, and they've got to find a way to get it back on the rails, because right now it feels very off of it. And it's like, it's really the Hannah Hidalgo show, right? It's like Hannah Hidalgo can do a lot, but when you're getting up against these teams like UNC, I think they could win, but like a UConn, like a Louisville, like with just one option, it's gonna be really hard to win.
Yeah, she's an incredible talent. Obviously, she's a first-team All-American. If you made the case she's the best player in the country, you'd have that, and you wouldn't be laughed off the floor. You just can't do it alone against certain caliber of opponent. You can do it against Boston College, the worst Power 5 team in the country. You can do it against Pitt, the second worst Power 5 team in the country. You can do it against Bellarmine and Akron and all these teams that they've beaten by a bunch. You can't do it against Duke. Can't do it against Georgia Tech. And it all goes back to the front court. Duke bullied them in the front court. Delaney Thomas and Toby Fournier did exactly what they needed to do. They rebounded Notre Dame only by 8, but they made 9 threes to complement it. You can't do it alone. And right now, it feels like she has to do it alone, which you can get away with until you run into a tournament caliber team, and then you're in trouble. I will say, though, I've tooted the horn of North Carolina for weeks, even when they lost to UCLA and Texas fairly handily. To this point, they've played 5 games of note, and they've lost 4 of them. And we can argue about how good Fairfield is as the 5th one.
Yeah.
Need to see it. If you're a good team, beat Notre Dame at home. The defense too has been an issue. They've allowed 75 plus in all of those losses. Louisville wasn't overtime, so you get a bit of a pass. But at some point, if you want to be in the hosting conversation, I need to see it. Right now, I haven't seen it. I lied. Right. It is on the road. My apologies. It's on the road Sunday. It's fine. Go to South Bend and beat Notre Dame.
Right.
Prove it. Big bubble game. Virginia Cuse. Syracuse took a hit. They lost by 20 last night. I don't really buy either of these teams, if I'm being honest. But for someone right now, I believe it is a quad 2 win. And those are valuable.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Virginia. Oh, go ahead.
Virginia. Yeah, I was gonna say Virginia. I feel like the Syracuse loss really is a bad hit for them. But yeah, for Virginia, I think this is a good opportunity. You're right now 1-3 in quad 1 and quad 2, so adding another win there would be good. I mean, same thing for Syracuse, which is 1-3, but I think Virginia has the better record right now. And like this is a good opportunity to add to it.
Virginia and Cuse have combined for 26 wins. 20 of those are quad 4 wins, and 24 of those are quad 3 or quad 4 wins. So someone's going to get a nice little boost to their resume. Give me Virginia. And then Stanford Duke. Fun game on Sunday. Duke goes west and sweeps. I might be back in. Stanford, another chance to bolster its resume. I think a big test for Shumfai, the freshman. She struggled in ACC play a bit. Duke will be physical. They have Fournier. Delaney Thomas is playing really well. Important game for her just to kind of maybe build some confidence. And then obviously Agara is there. I think it'll be a fun game. Not overly consequential in terms of like I don't think either of these teams are going to host. They're both pretty comfortably in the tournament field. Just a nice fun game on Sunday. Wednesday, we can just rip through some of these. West Virginia, TCU. West Virginia has Texas Tech, Iowa State, TCU in consecutive games. You might, if you're not paying attention, forget about the Mountaineers by this time next week, even if they go over. Just maybe keep your stock on West Virginia. Now's not the time to sell, even if they take a couple losses. Utah Baylor will be interesting. And then how big is the Seton Hall Marquette game on Wednesday?
I think this is a big one. Both teams are like in a net range where like you're in that bubble conversation you're looking at it, but they need quality wins. And this is a good opportunity. I think it's to get a decent win for each of them. I think they're kind of both sitting outside the field right now, but like if one of these teams can start racking up wins, Marquette just racked up a nice win over Nova, I think earlier this week, which on the flip side is not as good for Nova's at-large chances, but and then Seton Hall, I don't think has really picked up anything too big in the Big East yet, but like I think just if someone can emerge as like the clear second best team in the Big East, I think there's an opportunity for an at-large.
I think Villanova's pretty clearly the second best, right?
Yeah, I agree, but they need to stop losing to other teams in the Big East. It's going to hurt their chances.
We've pretty much talked about all these teams, but let's see. Wednesday, Minnesota, UCLA. Thursday in the Big Ten, Michigan, Illinois, Michigan State, Nebraska, USC, Maryland, Iowa, Oregon. It's going to be like that every week for 3 months, folks. Get used to it. Notre Dame, Louisville, North Carolina, Miami could be consequential. Canes could use a win like that. And then leads us to the big game Thursday we can talk about. Round 2, South Carolina, Texas at Colonial Life. Texas won in Vegas in a non-conference game in November. Rory Harmon, the game-winning jumper. You probably remember that. Obviously, Tania Latson's health is imperative. She's missed the last few games. Who you got?
I think I'm still going to go Texas on this one, especially not knowing if Watson is going to be out there. I think that's a big blow for South Carolina if they don't have her. To me, even though like Texas has looked more vulnerable over the last few weeks, like I still feel like it's like them and UConn and then South Carolina and UCLA. And maybe we'll get proven differently in this game, but for now I'm going to stick with Texas. They haven't lost yet, so like I'm not going to bet against them.
Obviously, Latson's health is paramount. It seems like she's on track to play based on what you've read and seen from Dawn Staley. Like if this was April in the Final Four, Latson probably would have played, but instead she doesn't need to play when they beat Arkansas by 30 anyways.
Exactly.
Hey, imagine that, Iowa State. You can have an important player missing and win quad 4 games on the road that you're supposed to win. I went back and looked at the first game. I'm looking more inside for South Carolina. The third quarter, they outscored Texas by 8. They were 9 of 10 on layups. The rest of the game, they were 7 of 22. Obviously, the interior defense of Texas has a lot to do with that. Make some layups, they win that game. Make your layups, you're at home, the crowd's going to be buzzing. You've lost there once in however many years. Make your layups, you got a good shot to win. And how good has Raven Johnson been? Very, very polarizing figure in South Carolina history. Just go on Twitter and say Raven Johnson discuss and watch the world burn. She's averaged 15 a game in Latson's absence. She's starting to score the basketball more consistently. And even when Latson was there, she was starting to score more consistently. And she's been very, very good this year.
Yeah, and if she can start to do that with Latson on the court, I mean, not that she wasn't already to an extent, but like the 15 game with Latson on the court, like this team is going to be so much better offensively, and have someone else. But I think regardless of that, like you're proving that she can't be slagged off, and like you have to guard her, and that's going to do wonders for South Carolina in terms of spreading the floor and just having more offensive options.
So you'll take Texas. I'll take South Carolina. Games at home. South Carolina doesn't lose at home, generally speaking. They won when UConn snapped the streak. It was what, like at least 50 in a row,
yeah,
right? A lot in a row.
Yeah.
2-point game the first time. Yeah, I think South Carolina might have a point to prove. So yeah, give me the Gamecocks, which wouldn't take anything away from Texas. Like if Texas if Texas loses by 2 with a game-winning shot from Raven Johnson with a second to go, great, we're evened out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. To this point, we've done 7 schools, 8 schools. I forgot to keep track. A lot of schools for program drafts. We're going to wrap it up today with our mega one, UConn. You may not know this. UConn's won a lot of national championships, and therefore they have a lot of good players. So we are going to expand it. Instead of just 5 starters and a reserve, we are going to go 20 deep, or 10 deep each. So 20 players, as I don't have my piece of paper ready. Shocker. So we're doing this quick. And Megan, I will give you first honors because, frankly, I'm not prepared. So I'll just let you go first.
Yeah. I feel like I would have rather gone second in this one, but okay. It's okay.
All right. Who you got first?
I'm gonna take Brianna Thorpe first. I actually think you can debate who's the greatest basketball player in like all time in UConn history, but 4 championships, 4 years. It's also the same 4 years I went to school, so I'm of course slightly biased. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Stewie.
Okay. Give me person I probably would have taken first, Diana, and then give me Maya. There's, I think, a pretty clear Mount
Top 3.
Rushmore.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly a top 3. If you told me 4, yeah, that'd be fine. But yeah, Taurasi, I mean, the work she did in 03 and 04 is still maybe the greatest thing I've ever seen. She willed a young team with, sure, they had a couple of pros, certainly no all-stars. And like Barbara Turner was probably the best teammate in those 2 years when she was a freshman in 03. And the fact that she kind of willed that team to a national title is just unbelievable. And then, I mean, Maya Moore is the leading scorer in program history in points. She's 2-time player of the year. She's second in rebounding, and you know who Maya Moore is. So yeah. So you have Stewie. Give me Taurasi and Moore. You have the next 2.
All right. My next one. I'm gonna go. We need a point guard. I'm gonna go with Sue Bird. Greatest point guard in program history. It's easy. And then I could go 2 ways with this pick, but I'm gonna go back to the first championship and go with Rebecca Lobo.
Rebecca Lobo is the most important player in UConn history. She's not the greatest. She's the most important. Absolutely. Yes. Without her in that 95 team, I'll throw Nikisha Sales in there too, a local kid who was highly touted, and Gino convinced her to stay, and she was on the 95 team. Yeah. Without those 2, maybe none of everything else that happens.
Right.
So you will take Bird and Lobo. All right. Well, then if you're going to gift me Paige Beckers and Tina Charles, I mean, I'm not gonna complain there. So I'll take Paige, and then I think Tina Charles is like almost any other program outside of like Tennessee. She's like far and away the best player ever at that school. 3-time All-American, National Player of the Year, all-time leading rebounder, future Hall of Famer. And it's almost like she kind of gets lost in the mix because she was on teams with Maya. And Maya was obviously the star. But yeah, Tina was I mean, they could win a national title without Maya because they had Tina Charles. And then, you know who Paige Beckers is. She played recently. So, Paige, you have the next one.
All right. My next one, I'm gonna go with Nafisa Collier. I think she's just criminally like underrated in her college career. Was just so consistently good for UConn. Absolutely should have won a National Player of the Year of her award her senior year. I think it's such a crime that she did not win a National Player of the Year award her senior year.
I think she's held back because the only title she won, she was a freshman, and
yeah,
a role player because they had Stewie, Tuck, and Mo.
Right. But yeah, just like. I think closer to that top group than like the next group in terms of players. And then next one, I'm going to go with one of the other. There's only a few players in UConn history that have had their numbers retired, and Swin Cash is one of them.
She sure is. There will be a flurry. So UConn set the precedent of you make the Hall of Fame, you get your number retired. There'll be a lot of Hall of
Famers.
Yeah, there are going to be a few of them coming up. 3 will be retired next year. Then you might take it. Oh, yeah, Maya will be retired.
Yeah.
Tina Charles will be retired soon after that. Eventually, Stu will be retired. Yeah, it's tiring to think about. Okay, so you just pick Swin Cash. Okay, so my last starter. I have a guard. I got a guard. I got a forward. I got a forward. Look at me. I will take Nikisha Sales. Top 10 all-time in points, 2-time All-American. Again, local kid. She grew up like half an hour from Stores. The fact that she stayed was big for the program at the time. She had a very good pro career. So yeah, give me Nikisha Sales. And then my first reserve. I'm going to predict the future here a bit. I'm going to say this is going to be a steal.
Pick.
This is going to be a steal. Sarah Strong. Already. Sarah Strong.
Yeah, you stole my pick because I was about to do the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, I can't take her above a current Hall of Famer, but
correct. Yes, I almost took her before, but like I can't justify taking her over Nikisha Sales yet. But the fact that it's a conversation is kind of wild, considering she's midway through her sophomore year. You got the next two.
All right. I'm gonna go back a ways, back to some of those earlier teams. With this one, Carrie Bascom, great big for UConn back in the day.
First All-American ever.
Yep.
That's the wrong team. First Final Four team in 91.
Yes. And now we're into so I'm gonna go with the program's all-time leading three-point shooter, Kalina Mosquito Lewis. Great thing to have off the bench.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot to write things down, so I'm trying to do this properly in real time as well. All right. I will take who I think. You think Nafisa's, you're right. She's criminally underrated. A forgotten star, Svetlana Abrosimova. I think is the most underrated player in program history. She was a 3-time All-American in the late 90s. She missed half her senior year with a torn ACL. She was still an All-American. If she and Shea Ralph don't tear their ACLs in 2001, they win the national title that year. It's a weird what if in UConn history, right? Because they went down, and there's a freshman from California named Diana Taurasi who slid in and became a superstar. If Bet and Shea don't get hurt, like what the kind of the what if of all of that. Very intriguing. Same time, UConn also could have had a second four-peat, possibly. But yeah, give me Svet, and then give me the heart and soul of the first championship team, Jen Rosati. 96 National Player of the Year. 2-time All-American. So you have, I lied, you have 3 more picks, but yeah, you have the next 2.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go back to the 90s as well. Another 90s pick with Kara Walters. My first one there. And then
also a player of the year.
Yes, also a player of the year. There's a lot of player of the years in UConn history. Like you could
that if you're a newer women's basketball fan, which like that's fine, no judgment here.
Yeah.
Like you may not realize like, oh, Kara Walters, you may not instantly recognize that name, or Jen Rosati, or Svetlana Abrosimova, or heck, even Nikisha Sales. But yes,
and then maybe more of just like a personal love for this player, but a good player to have on your bench because she knew a bit of everything. Gabby Williams. Love the Gabby Williams.
I think she's the most athletically, maybe Maya.
Yeah.
Freak athlete.
Yeah.
Freak athlete. Alien type stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. From Gabby Williams. All right. I have 2 more picks. I have a couple guards. I need a big. I'll take Stephanie Dolson, who I think is the best passing big in program history. I know it's kind of odd, but she was a really good passer. Sarah Strong might surpass her, but 1,800 points, 2-time All-American, 1,100 rebounds. And then my last pick, boy, there's 3 really good guards that, of these 3 really good guards I'm staring at least 2 of them aren't going to get picked. Give me Renee Montgomery. That's more of a personal pick than anything. A favorite when I was growing up. We talk about Tina Charles getting lost in that with that Maya Moore team. Renee Montgomery is extra lost because she was the heart and soul of those teams. So yeah, I will cap my team with Renee Montgomery. So you got 1 more.
All right. Well, I'm gonna cap mine with also kind of a personal pick, but she's also UConn's all-time leader in assists. Nika Mule. I just love Nika Mule so much. There's probably, in the like technical sense, better players that have come through, but I love Nika.
Nika is one of the few UConn players that I've gotten to know very, very briefly. My son is 4. He was like best friends with Nika her last couple of years. Our cat's name is Nika because of Nika Mule. So yeah,
I love that.
Our apologies to somehow we didn't pick a 2-time All-American in Mariah Jefferson. We did not pick an All-American in Shea Ralph.
Yes.
Let's see. Katie Lou Samuelson scored 2,000 points. Asia Jones, Tamika Williams on the greatest team that ever walked the face of the earth in 2002. I mean, geez, we could have gone even deeper, but we stopped somewhere. We'll post these to social. Yes. I'm not going to rip through 20 names because you're not going to keep track of it. But so half marathon tomorrow. What are we doing today? It's that balance of I'm sure you want to go have fun. You also don't want to go walk 19,000 steps today.
Yeah, we're doing Animal Kingdom today because I feel like it's like the least intense of the park. Like you don't have as many rides. Taking it slow. We've got to go to the expo and get our numbers at some point. So it's a kind of like a half park day, half
Avatar
day. Yeah, if the line's not too long. Honestly, the thing I'm most excited about is I saw on Instagram yesterday, like at the Animation Academy thing, where they like teach you how to draw Disney characters. They're doing Simba, and The Lion King is like my all-time favorite Disney movie. So I just really want to go learn how to draw Simba.
Oh, that's cool. January 9th. What's the weather like? I mean, you've been outside for an hour.
It's supposed to be 80 degrees today, so toasty.
What's the weather tomorrow? What time do you start? I can't imagine you start that late. I mean, you're there at 2:30 in the morning.
5 a.m. So like, yeah, it's like we start at like 5 a.m. So and it'll be in the 60s. It should be like perfect. No sun. It'll be pitch black most of the time we run. So it should be good running weather.
I mean, do we have like a goal time? Is that like a very personal question? Well, are we just going to have fun? I mean,
no, we're mostly going to have fun. We didn't set it. I'm running with my sister. We didn't set a goal time because like we're in Disney and like they have characters along the course and stuff, and like we wanted to allow ourselves to like stop and enjoy that. So
sure. Well, enjoy your running where you just run for an extended period of time. It's supposed to be exhilarating. Safe travels back. And we will be back next week in the comfy confines of all of our homes. So everyone enjoy the games this week. Megan will have fun running. We'll talk next week.